Treshunna, my granddaughter, is here to prove to me she didn't have nothing to do with killing her mom. But I refuse to believe that. If she didn't do it, she put a hit out on my daughter. I got a call from one of my family members, and they had told me that Trenice had just been murdered. Once I found out that my child had been murdered, I arrived at the scene, and her body was laying there on the ground. Treshunna, my granddaughter, was at the scene. She looked it cold. No feelings or anything, but she was pregnant and big pregnant. So I thought maybe she was in shock. But she had no tears for her mother. I couldn't understand how cold she was looking at my daughter dead there. And I knew that she hated my daughter. Trenice had heard that Treshunna hadn't had the baby. That's why my daughter was on the highway and back in New Orleans, because she had got a call that Treshunna had given birth. Once I got to the site and saw Treshunna still there, pregnant, big pregnant, I said, now what kind of lie is this? That she's supposed to be in the hospital having the baby. So she lured my daughter to New Orleans in order for to murder her, or have her murdered. I think Treshunna wanted my child to be murdered because of the hatred that she had for her. Treshunna felt as though my daughter neglected her and didn't give her enough attention. She kept fighting my daughter, and I used to have to break up the fights. Treshunna was so hateful. She was jealous of Trenice because my daughter was a go-getter. Trenice was my twin. She looked like me. She was valedictorian of school. She helped me achieve my GED. She was a helper. But unfortunately, she got involved with the wrong people. Trenice was out there selling dope. I actually think that Treshunna's baby daddy was involved because he had robbed Trenice 3 times before. And Treshunna knows that. And Treshunna gave the detectives his description. She knew it was her baby dad did it. It'll shock me if she passes that lie detector test. I've been fighting for the truth for 7 years, and I'm here to get it today.
Treshunna, it sounds like your mother's death has caused a big rift in your family.
Yes.
Is it just your grandmother that thinks that you had something to do with your mother's murder, or are there other people?
My grandmother and a lot of other family members on my mother's side of the family feel like I have something to do with my mother's murder. When my mother was first killed, we didn't really know why she was killed, but I did know my mother was drug trafficking and stuff like that. I didn't know, that she was in New Orleans when she got there. I didn't know that she was coming, but I didn't know that she had arrived. She never disclosed to me what day that she was coming to New Orleans or anything like that. I was 9 months pregnant at the time. I did not call my mother to New Orleans to tell her that I was getting ready to go in labor. That's not the truth. It was put on the news, but my grandmother and my other family members put that on the news. During the investigation into my mother's murder, the detective had showed me a surveillance picture of a guy dressed in all black with a black stocking cap over his head. I could still see his skin complexion, and he did seem to resemble someone that I knew. So I told him that he looked like my child's father. And at that time, we were going to custody court. We were dealing with some ugly things in regards to our child. He had sent me pictures of like money and checks and stuff like that, saying that I would never see my baby ever again, that they were set for life. And so it didn't seem crazy.
Did you have your baby?
I had my baby that I was pregnant with like 2 weeks after my mom passed.
So what baby are you?
I'm talking about my older son.
So he had your oldest child.
He had my oldest son.
And he basically was saying, hey, you're never going to see.
Right.
So you weren't on good terms.
We weren't.
Did you maybe say that your baby's, the dad, did you say maybe out of spite, or maybe you were mad and said, yeah, that looks like him?
No, it really wasn't a spiteful thing. The guy actually did kind of resemble him. You know, I didn't get a clear shot at the face. I just saw the skin complexion. I saw the figure, and that's the only person that I know that could look like that at the time. So after that, I didn't hear any more about it. I confided in another family member and told them the same thing that I'm telling you, and it kind of just went from there with the rumor. My child's father and my mom did do business before, so it wasn't like crazy to think like he had something to do with it, because it wasn't like...
So you think in your mind, he might have had something to do with it?
He might have did.
But not anything to do on your behalf?
Not at all.
Was anybody ever arrested in your mother's?
Yes. The people that were involved in the car with my mom that night, one of the suspects were arrested. But this case is not an investigation of homicide division anymore, because it's dealing with drugs. The feds have the case, so we don't have any more information on that. I do know that my child's father was not questioned because his name was brought up. He did have a mug shot in the book, you know, just to identify, but as far as I know, he doesn't have anything to do with it.
But somebody was arrested?
Someone was.
Okay. How did you find out about your mother's death?
I got a call one night. It was kind of late. I got a call from a family member telling me that my mom had been shot in the head on a certain side of New Orleans, and it didn't sound right to me because my mom usually don't hang that way, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, that don't sound right. So she was like, call such and such, and he'll give you, you know, the rest of the story, because that's all I know. So I called this person on the phone, and it was like, yes, your mom is dead and stuff like that. And I just cried, I just broke down. I was hurt, you know. Me and my mom, we had our problems. It wasn't a perfect relationship, but I love my mom. You know what I'm saying? I would have never gotten her killed at all. Like, I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done. So at the end of the day, Steve, like, you know, my grandma, she is crazy. Straight up and down, delusional, crazy. She says the most absurd things, like you would never expect a grandma to say. Like, you know, during my mama's funeral, I was just like in shock still, you know what I'm saying? The last time I had seen my mom, we were in Houston in our house, you know? So it was just kind of like overwhelming seeing my mama in a casket, you know what I'm saying? When I got to the casket, my grandmother said, this looks like you dead in the casket. I'm 9 months pregnant, you know? She didn't grab me for a hug. She didn't try to console me, you know, at the scene of the murder. I was just in shock, you know? I did break down crying. At the scene, my grandmother was just shouting, like, you know, I knew this was gonna happen. You know, I didn't think it was gonna be my daughter. I thought it was gonna be you. You know what I'm saying? Because she always hated me. You know, my grandmother never was in my life. I didn't start to live with my mom until I was 12 years old. They never really had a hand in my upbringing, you know? My mom just my mom...
Why did your grandmother hate you?
I don't know if it was just jealousy, because my family took really good care of me. You know, I never wanted for anything. Birthdays, they was like the best family.
So you don't have a relationship with the person yelling backstage?
Never. You know, she's always been very...
So does it bother you that you don't have a relationship with her?
Yes, it bothers me, because my mom isn't here, you know what I'm saying? And she's...
So because your mom's not here,
right.
You would like that, I mean...
Because I know that's what she would have wanted, you know what I'm saying? That is my grandmother, and I do have 5 children, so I would like for them to know their grandmother, but she has a lot of ugly ways that just has me to the point where I just really don't want her in my life.
So I want to understand something. Why didn't your mom raise you?
My mom ran the streets, you know. I stayed with my mom from 13 all the way till I was like 21, 22. Yes, I was trying to work on my relationship with my mom. I love my mom. You know, what girl wouldn't want to have a good relationship with their mama? You know what I'm saying? So the idea that I had anything to do with her being killed is absurd.
I know you had my child killed because you hated her. You're a fighter, beating her up all the time and stuff. And I used to have to drive to Texas and come out there and tear your ass
Grandma,
up
you never drove.
and stuff.
It's sad that you
it's
really
sad
gonna get
that
on
you're
the
standing
stage.
here lying.
It's sad
Why
that
you
you murdered
my child?
And say something
Why
like
you
that
murdered my
when you
child?
know
You
the
and your
truth.
baby daddy.
You know.
Why did you murder my child?
I had nothing to do with my
you
mother.
And your baby
if
daddy.
anybody murdered my mother, you
with
murdered
his dirty
her.
red
Upholding
Why
the stuff
did
that she
he
was doing.
shoot my child?
He did not shoot
all
her.
all the times.
He did not shoot her.
In the back.
He did not shoot her.
In the back.
My mother wasn't shot in the back.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
You was staying with us. You knew all the trouble my mama was getting into. You know my mama was getting ready to go to jail. You know people wanted to kill my mama for money and drugs. You already know my mama was working with the police, but you get on the stage and put on the front. Be yourself.
What was your daughter's feelings towards her own child?
She loved her, seeing that she got her GED and everything.
She loved her.
And everything. She took very good care of her children.
She took very good care of her?
Yes, she did.
Did she raise her?
She raised her, yes.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she raised her.
No, she did not.
Yes, she raised her.
From what age?
I can't tell you what age and stuff.
From a
How do you not know
baby,
that?
You know,
from a
because I had a stroke because of my child being murdered.
From a newborn baby, my grandmother had me.
Well, but you
my
would
dad
know
had me.
when you would remember your granddaughter in your life, right?
Yes, I would remember her.
Did you remember that?
She never
Yes,
spent
I
the
do.
Christmas with me.
So
never
you
spent the
remember
birthday
your
with me.
granddaughter in your life?
Yes, I do.
How often did you see her?
Often, because I had to whip that ass.
That's not true.
Often.
Me and my mom got into a big fight because my mom was mad with me for cursing her mama out. Right. And they both jumped me with the baby I was pregnant with when my mama was killed. And that was early in my pregnancy. She never whooped me.
You jumped her?
Yes.
I ain't never jumped her.
She did jump me.
Never jumped her. My daughter beat that ass. Beat that ass.
Did you know your daughter was involved with selling drugs?
Yes, I was aware of it.
Isn't that more of a possibility why she was killed than your granddaughter? Because they didn't have a good relationship?
They had robbed her 3 times, her and her baby daddy.
My mother was broke.
My child was robbed
when
3 times.
Funeral,
that's how she wound up in Capital.
My mama. Stop lying.
I mean, your daughter was shot how many times?
I don't know. Tell me.
Multiple.
I wish somebody would tell me.
Your daughter was killed and you don't know how many times she was shot?
Don't. When I got there and stuff, they was she was laying there stiff as a board. I knew she had been dead.
You never asked?
Ain't nobody never told me, and I never asked.
You never asked?
I never asked.
Why not?
I was in shock.
Treshunna came here to take a lie detector test, and we asked her, did you participate in any way in the death of your mother, Trenice? She answered no. Do you have any direct knowledge as to the identity of the person who shot your mother? She answered no. The result of those 2 questions came back the same, and it came back that Treshunna told the truth.
I'm relieved that it's out now.
Yes.
And I just hope we can all just make peace and move on with our lives. That's it.
And make things easier for you and your children, right?
Right.
All right. Well, good luck to all of you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Come on, baby.
And I just feel like this was the closure that I needed, you know, in order to move forward in my life. I could never bring my mama back. The results can't bring her back. The way Grandma feel can't bring her back. So I just won't be able to move on with my children, be the mama that I never had to my kids, and just lead by example. That's all.
I called you, Steve, for help because I watch your show all the time.
Somebody's going to watch this and say, you know what? She was brave enough to do that. I can do that too.